going on? Welcome to the Mark Hoke Show. Another edition of the best in pro wrestling news and entertainment. And managed to get the live stream started too, which was probably a good call. Welcome on KDAWN. We're very happy to have you here. Of course, also streaming on the Odyssey app. If you don't have the Odyssey app, well, you know what? There's a little black spot on the sun today if you don't have it. So go get that, AUDACY. You can listen to us and KDAWN and all the other great programs that are on that app whenever you want. We're also streaming on YouTube, X, and Facebook. And bear with me here for just a second because I'm just having some issues this morning. There we go. All right. And I got to welcome in the boys. Let's get them here as we bring in first our good friend from Sports Guys Talking Wrestling in Austin, Texas. He is Stu Myrick. Welcome, Stu.
Happy May the 4th be with you day, Mark.
Gonna get out my lightsaber.
I've got mine. It's over there. It's over there in the living room. But yeah, hey, may the force be with us.
Absolutely. It's a dreary day in Las Vegas. We could use a couple lightsabers out here. And let's also bring in from adfreeshows.com. Ooh, the brick house background for Coach Rosey, Josh Rosenbaum. What's up, sir?
Yeah, my wife and I have decided to use our house as an Airbnb, so we're going to be homeless so we can afford SummerSlam tickets. I saw the prices, and we thought the only way that the two of us would be able to get decent tickets is to, tough it out for a couple months, live on the streets, and get our house up for Airbnb. So we're looking forward to SummerSlam, but it's good to be with you guys. I'm just right outside a Jack in the Box using their Wi-Fi.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Cheers.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing.
No, I just have a dirty room, and I don't want to show you guys what the dirty room is.
You should have just stuck with it. You had us.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, Jack. I didn't even know Jack in the Box had Wi-Fi.
No, they do. A lot of the students use the Jack in the Box Wi-Fi for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, it has been an interesting week, especially on the business side of things in pro wrestling. And gentlemen, we're going to dive right into this as WWE has done their annual multiple releases of talent. Oh, wow. This is an interesting list, guys. And normally when this list comes out, I'm kind of like, This time, I don't know. I'm seeing some decent players in this whole thing. So let's run it down. So, guys, if you haven't heard this list and you're a fan of somebody, I'm sorry to bring you the bad news. From the main rosters, Dakota Kai is gone. Braun Strowman, gone. Shayna Baszler is out. And Caden Carter and Katana Chance, gone. So those are your cuts from the main roster. From NXT, Cora Jade is out. Gigi Dolan is out. Eddie Thorpe, Jakara Jackson, Riley Osborne, Otto Mensa, Javier Bernal, Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, Wolfgang, and Danny Palmer. And they also announced that they are not renewing Shotzi's contract. So some pretty decent names there getting let go, fellas. And I'll start with you, Coach. Who stands out to you on that list that, that sounds like a mistake, or do you feel these cuts are okay?
I'm okay with the cuts except for Dakota Kai. I mean, you can't bank on their futures. A lot of those people had some injury problems. A lot of their styles weren't conducive to what people are looking for in professional wrestling today. So WWE has a unique ability to be able to pick and choose exactly who they want that could fill their narrative. And I think that they just wanted to cut some people that they didn't see the future for. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we saw a future for them, but as through injuries and through storylines, just things weren't working out for them. But Dakota Kai, that was a tough one. I think hers was more based on injuries and just trying to find her niche because she never really found one.
She was an integral part of Damage Control, that's for sure. And was actually one of the first ones Triple H brought back when he took over. And now he says goodbye to her. Stu Myrick, your thoughts on these cuts?
I mean, first off, you hate to hear when any wrestler, gets cut, dreams, get squashed. Interesting names. You mentioned Dakota Kai, who was part of Damage Control. Braun Strowman is an interesting one. This is his second time to get cut. I think there's some injury issues or health issues. Some of the other ones, I don't know. It's interesting. Cora Jade and Gigi Dolan, interesting cuts from NXT. Gigi Dolan in particular, she was, she had this tag team with Tatum Paxley, and that was starting to gain a little traction. They were showing up in TNA and all that good stuff. But it's I feel bad for the wrestlers because like I said, that's that means their deal's done. There were Danny Palmer, who was in NXT. She's been released, and I think she said her athletic career is over. Yep. So she maybe go find something else to do. And that's kind of the initial reaction is, okay, well, who's going to go where? Well, look, and I'm that guy who says, look, you do what you do, you follow your dreams. Now, could a few of them find their way to TNA, AEW, MLW, wherever? Sure. I would kind of take a pause. Obviously, the main roster cuts, they have a 90-day no compete. So we got to wait 3 months. The NXT cuts have 30-day no competes. So they could be, they could be available a little sooner. All in all, some interesting choices. It wasn't anybody that you would say is like upper, at least upper mid card to main event level, but definitely some players that had a spot, and now that spot's gone.
Yeah, and I'll just give the ones that I was kind of a little bit shocked about. I think Dakota was one, and with the injuries that she's had, I think that kind of played into it. Mm-hmm. But Dakota Kai getting let go, I think a lot of people were surprised about. And Braun Strowman had just been, in a huge feud with Jacob Fatu. And, we did hear a little bit about the possibility his knees are giving him some trouble, but I was really surprised that Trips pulled him out. I think Adam Shearer, and that's the name you're probably going to hear from now on, has got some definite use. And, I think he could be an AEW guy. I think Dakota Kai, who will probably be known as her other name of Evie, is going to be out there. But one that I just still can't believe how badly she got used with Shayna Baszler. I am such a fan of Shayna's, and the push that she had killed when she had eliminated everybody in that elimination chamber match a while back. I thought she did some great things, and I've seen her perform, and she has potential to be a real badass for somebody. And I think she would fit in well with AEW. I think they could use her to her best abilities. Or
American Freestyle Wrestling.
That's a possibility. That's possible. We're going to talk about that.
About 90 days from now.
I wonder if she'd be eligible. Yeah, that's a good point.
I'll have a few thoughts on that one, but I'll save it for later.
Okay. And, Cora Jade, they were really having her do a lot of media stuff at WrestleMania. I mean, she was all over the place. And to see her go was a little bit shocking. Somebody was like, Carter and Chance, good tag team, but I don't know where they fit. Gigi Dolan, you mentioned Stu, and, that was one that I was a little surprised about. But I don't know. And they're not renewing Shotzi's contract. That's pretty interesting to me, too, because, she was really starting to show me that she belonged. And I was always kind of banging on her a little bit with, some of the botches she'd have in the ladder matches, like Money in the Bank. She struggled a little bit for a couple of years in those matches, but this is interesting. I'm going to be these are some people I'm going to track. A lot of times when these cuts come out, I'm kind of like, yeah, I can see why, and so on. And there's a lot of names that they really didn't need, but these are a few with Shotzi, Dakota, Braun, Shayna that I'm going to be intrigued to see where they end up.
There's one you mentioned, Shotzi, and Shotzi had a pretty good independent career. I think I called a match of hers when she wrestled at Inspire here in Austin a couple times. Another name that's interesting to me is Eddie Thorpe. He had he had a run there, in the main event scene in NXT. They've cut him, so 30 days from now he's available. He's a product of the New Japan LA Dojo, so you wonder if maybe he finds his way back to New Japan, because New Japan is, they need talent. You look at the people that are leaving New Japan with Jeff Cobb and Naito and Bushi. I would think that the ace Hiroshi Tanahashi might welcome. Now, of course, I forget his name under New Japan, but they may welcome now the former Eddie Thorpe back into the fold. If for no other reason, have him feud with Clark Connors, who he came up through the dojo with.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah, a lot of these people I think are going to, find places to go, but I don't know. I feel like there's some wasted talent there. You know what I mean? Just
I think that's the case though with every time they release, every time they do these releases, they're getting there's talent that's about to be unemployed, and it's we should be used to it by now. This is, in fact, it's right around this time of the year, a month or so after WrestleMania. Well, actually, not even a month. It's been like 3 weeks, but still, there's always talented individuals that they just decide are no longer useful on their roster, and that's happens every year.
Let's see a couple comments in the chat box here. Trell saying Braun is a good hand and fills a role. I don't understand why they keep letting him go. And he also mentioned, Shayna too. Let's see. Buying a Scoops, Carl Fredericks.
Thank you, Scoop. Yeah, Carl Fredericks. That's Eddie Thorpe. But yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think he'd be welcome back to the New Japan fold, in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I just, and Shayna Baszler's the one that just keeps sticking in my craw. I just, that was a Kevin Dunn screw job right there a few years back, when he was running around and, some of these women aren't hot, so they're not going to be someone we want on the roster. And just Shayna can go, and used properly. I mean, they had her in some pretty good tag teams in WWE where, she was able to bring her intensity in there. I just, I hope Tony picks her up. I really do. I could see her fitting in very well with that women's roster on AEW. Sorry, I'm harping on it a little bit, but
well, and the first thing I think of is now, Grant, it's 90 days, so this is May, so
can't make all in.
She'll make. Yeah, I was going to say,
July, August.
Yeah, so
August 1st.
I was thinking, the first thought that came to my mind, Tony's, created this Ring of Honor Women's Pure title. I think she would be fantastic in the Pure division in Ring of Honor. You look at how that Pure division is set up, the rules they have. I think she'd be like that's your Pure wrestler right there.
Yeah, and Coach, we saw her at Bloodsport too. Correct. I mean, that right up her alley. And there are some people on that AEW roster that could really work well with her.
Yeah, but I don't hope that Braun goes to AEW. As much as a fan I am of AEW, they don't know how to book a big man. that would absolutely crush him. Because I mean, I just watched what they did with Wardlow and other, powerhouse, didn't have much direction. So I don't want him to go to AEW.
Yeah, they do struggle a little bit with the big guys, but there'd certainly be a role for him. I mean, I'm sure they could figure something out, but but I did see some videos of him. The releases happened and he was out jet skiing and just trying to relax. And
he enjoys life, that's for sure.
Yeah, he does. He seems like a good guy, and I imagine after going through this once already, he's going to be taking it in stride. And I mean, he realized there was a life outside of WWE before they brought him back. So we'll see how he does. But yeah, so tough day for a lot of people in WWE as they had to say goodbye to some friends on Friday night, Saturday morning. All right, yeah, it was Friday morning. All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about NXT. I saw an interesting tweet from somebody, and I want to bounce this off you guys. Is NXT a graveyard? Is NXT a fraud? We're going to have some fun with that when we return here on the Mark Hoke Show on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. Stick around, everybody.
Attention! Wedgwood Homes is actively buying homes in your neighborhood from Pahrump to Boulder City and all over the Las Vegas Valley. We buy homes for cash with no fees, no commissions, no hassles, and no repairs. Wedgwood Homes can close in as little as 3 days or on your timeline. Whether you're selling as is, relocating, downsizing, or if you have tough rental properties, just inherited a home, foreclosures, or are just financially stressed right now, make your next move with Wedgwood Homes. No matter the situation, Wedgwood Homes will help turn your home into cash. It's easy. No repairs, no cleanings, no showings. The Wedgwood Homes team of dedicated professionals in Las Vegas will hold your hand throughout the process. Wedgwood Homes won't reduce their offers. Our track record proves it, and we're revitalizing communities in Las Vegas for 20 years. Call now for a no-obligation, all-cash offer from Wedgwood Homes, 702-996-3583. Wedgwood Homes, Las Vegas's trusted home buyers, 702-996-3583, 702-996-3583, or connect with us at wedgwoodhomes.com.
You could think you found your dream home online. The kitchen island looks perfect for your inner chef. The backyard, a paradise for your green thumb. And that extra room, hello walk-in closet. But here's the twist. The lot next door just got rezoned for years of construction. And this sound, yeah, you're going to be hearing a lot of that. Don't let your dream home turn into a nightmare. Work with the expertise and ethical training of a Realtor, here to guide and help protect you from the surprises you didn't see coming. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors, right by you.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Well, HIMS can help. Through HIMS.com, you can get a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. It all starts with an online intake form. Get started at hims.com/joy. And from there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs with options up to 95% less than the brand names. Millions of men experience ED, but HIMS can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
101.5 FM KDAWN. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
All right, let's keep hour number one of the Mark Hoke Show rolling, the best in pro wrestling news and entertainment on KDAWN 101.5 FM, the talk of Las Vegas, on the Odyssey app. And we're also out there on YouTube, X, Facebook, and seeing the numbers keep picking up slowly but surely. And we certainly do appreciate it. Tell your friends and neighbors, tell your pets, they can sign into YouTube too. We'll just pretend. Have a great time watching us here. Stu Myrick from Sports Guys Talking Wrestling out of Austin, Texas. Coach Rosey, Josh Rosenbaum from adfreeshows.com. He's another brick in the wall over there. That's what he's doing on that live stream. Sorry, Coach. No,
it's all right.
Anyway, but one thing that came to mind to me when the cuts came out was, you see a lot of the NXT talent go, and you see some people that had success in NXT that just didn't make the final push, or have had somewhat limited success in here. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this, because I saw a tweet that somebody said that NXT is a fraud, that it's just something there to set up to have an extra TV show for WWE. And I was like, wow, that kind of made me think a little bit. And so I went back and I looked at lists of NXT champions. And, when you look at especially on the men's side, I got to say that a lot of these people ran into brick walls. Some of them didn't, obviously, especially early on, but, and a few of them were already established, but just kind of taking a look at the list, not many real true homegrown products for WWE out of the NXT champions. You had Rollins, Big E was a homegrowner, Bo Dallas, and then you had Pac, Adrian Neville. Sami Zayn had already done his thing in Ring of Honor. So had Kevin Owens. Finn Balor was in New Japan. Samoa Joe, Shinsuke. Bobby Roode was well established in TNA before he came over. Drew McIntyre, we all know his story. Andrade had already been there. Aleister Black was probably a guy that was in the independents, but he didn't gain a whole lot of traction. You had Ciampa and Gargano, Adam Cole, who didn't really get a shot on the main roster. Keith Lee, a guy that everybody just kind of just couldn't get going on the main roster there either. Cross has been up and down and released. And there's Finn Balor again. Who else we got? Renowned Ciampa. Braun Breaker's making it so far. And, then you have Carmelo Hayes, who's stuck. Dragunov got hurt, and he was starting to get noticeable. Then Trick Williams, Ethan Page, and Obafemi's got a pretty good future. And then I was thinking about guys like Ricky Starks and Sean Spears. Is NXT somewhat of a graveyard at times for some people? And it sure doesn't seem like it's guaranteed that if you do well in NXT that you're going to do well on the main roster. How important is NXT, guys? Let me hit Stu with that first.
I think it depends on part of it depends on what era of NXT are we talking about. There's also the notion, look, just because, so I am 20 minutes away from the Round Rock Express, the AAA affiliate for the Texas Rangers. Not everybody that plays here in Round Rock makes it to the big leagues. That's just the nature of it. I think that NXT, it is forever been the developmental territory, for lack of a better term, for WWE. Have they made the best use of the people coming out of NXT? Again, depends on who you're talking to. I would definitely not call it a graveyard, but it's definitely not a guarantee of future success just because you're in NXT.
Coach, why do you think that guys that especially recently, that have been NXT champions have not been have big success at the main roster? You would think that if somebody was a champion down there in NXT, that's showing a lot of faith in that person, and I would think that that's one of your future people there. You know what I mean? It's interesting.
I think NXT has had a tremendous effect on women's wrestling.
Yes.
I think that they continue to be the building ground for women's champions and women's wrestlers in WWE. But the kind of guys that they're kind of getting are athletes, high flyers, and that really doesn't translate to storylines on the main roster. I mean, take a look at who's there. They were great in NXT because that's the way that their stories were kind of written. I would consider the wrestling style in NXT and AEW very similar, but I would consider the stuff that we see on the main roster very different than both of those products. So I think even though they are being trained up in the Performance Center, just the guys that are coming up in the indies and guys that they're pulling up in NILs just aren't the same as that early generation like Stu was talking about, because it was a factory for people. We did have a lot of great champions come through until about 2018, 2019, and then blame it on whatever, but it started to decline from there.
Well, and I will say this: there's a lot to be said for, having. You mentioned Keith Lee, and I love Keith to death. He's one of our guys here in Texas. Called several of his matches here in Austin. Keith Lee was a huge success in NXT. He gets up to the main roster, and Vince just, absolutely fumbles him.
Same with Dijak, by the way.
Exactly.
I mean, there's two guys that they had some of the best matches I've seen with big men.
Oh my God.
Ever.
That was like a staple on the indie scene, was Dijak versus Keith. I mean, I think that played in just about every independent promotion, and it played really well. But they get to the main roster, and like quite a few, Vince decides to, change them for whatever reason, be it just to make, for his jollies or whatever. I think that had a lot. I think that played into quite a bit. Now, recently, obviously, we can't blame Vince. He ain't there anymore. But there have been some head scratchers, quite honestly. And it's, I think the other thing to consider is that there is some truth to the fact that they have been trying to make NXT simply the third brand.
Right.
They've been doing that for, they were doing that the tail end of the black and gold era. They definitely did it during 2.0, which in 2.0 was an absolute, that was
a disaster.
Yeah, it was disaster.
A disaster.
This one has had mixed results. It's almost like it's crazy to make this comparison, but NXT today, it feels like a really bad attempt at Lucha Underground.
That's interesting.
You got a lot of storyline driven stuff, quite a bit of backstage stuff. And it's getting to the point where it's kind of like, okay, hold on. Are we watching a wrestling show, or are we watching a, soap opera with wrestling interspersed in it?
Yeah. And NXT has definitely gone through its changes. And, I used to be a diehard NXT guy with the black and gold brand that, until Vince decided, look, we're not going to keep bringing the indie guys in. We're going to develop our own people, and it didn't work. And Coach, it's interesting what you said, and I want to circle back to it, that you said it's, it kind of reminded you of AEW, and they're on two different systems. You and I both coach sports. I mean, I coached for 20 plus years. You've been coaching basketball forever. Would you want your JV coach to be teaching a completely different system the way you run on your varsity team? I wouldn't. We're doing the same thing because our goal was to develop players in what we wanted, so that when they are at the top, that they are ready to roll. And it's strange that you bring that up, that because why would you want to run things differently on NXT? And then get them up to the main roster, and then they fail because they're not 100% prepared.
Yeah, our system's implemented all the way down to the 6th grade level now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the amount of money that they're making in NXT, maybe the ego that they're given personally for being in a WWE product is enough for these guys. I know the hunger is always to make the big show, but I mean, you're right up there on some major storylines. You have the opportunity to go to TNA. You're still pushed by the social media machine of WWE. So is it really a dream for the call-up? Maybe not, because the way that they are developing them at the Performance Center is to get them ready for NXT, it seems. And because it's not really translating to the main roster, I mean, take a look at Logan Paul. He didn't go to NXT. Yeah, he has a trainer, but I guarantee that they're training him for what needs to be done for the big shows, not all the stuff they're doing at the Performance Center. So if you're really going to be something in WWE, you don't have that extensive tutorial at the beginning. They kind of get you in and out, get you the training that you need, and get you out into the ring.
And, I know their jobs, but Stu, I was watching NXT this week, and I thought it was interesting that I'm seeing Sean Spears doing a promo with his little group, and you're seeing Ethan Page out there and Ricky Starks, and I'm feeling like I'm watching AEW, but then Penta and Ray Phoenix get pulled right up to the main roster. What Ricky Starks is a guy that everybody said that we're so high on him, we got to get him, and he gets planted with a name change on NXT, and I don't understand that. Because if Ricky, because I believe Ricky could be on the main roster, and I'm not putting his talent down, but I'm just saying why would WWE want to stick him there? Plus, these guys, I would imagine, would, like, those three guys would want to get on the main roster. So but where do they fit? You know what I mean? It's strange.
Again, I think it's the notion that NXT is just a third brand, like Raw or SmackDown. Now, as far as the name change, what I have heard is not specifically with Ricky, but with others. I've heard something to the effect of they want that name available for after they get done with WWE. Which, again, talking about the releases we talked about, could be any day. So they don't want WWE copywriting that name. So that's why there's a name change. And look, I've known Ricky for a long time. He lived here in Austin. He lived right down the road from me. I've called tons of his matches. I know as good as anybody how good Ricky Starks is. And why he is not on the main roster, I think it's as simple as they got to have talent, because they got to get the ratings on the CW every Tuesday night. Same thing with Ethan Page. Ethan Page has been doing this for 20 plus years.
Yeah. What's he doing in NXT?
He was a main eventer in TNA. He had a pretty good run in AEW until they got the whole, Man of the Year thing with Scorpio Sky. And I love Sky to death, but that was kind of like, Sean Spears, that's somebody that he was on the main roster, at least briefly.
It's a perfect 10.
Again, I think it's simply a matter of NXT is it's Raw, NXT, SmackDown. They've got to get the push. They got to get the eyeballs on it. And the social media thing, look, WWE loves their social media. They are all about the social media. That's a big reason why Logan Paul is getting pushed. Look, the guy's got talent. I get it. But they don't care about the talent. They care about the fact that all of Logan Paul's subscribers are going to watch SmackDown.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's nothing like that. And yes, there is the odd individual that just takes he'll take to him like fish in water. It is what it is. I just think it's a matter of they are doing everything they can to get the eyeballs, to get the vibe, getting, mentioned. They want as much attention put on them as possible. And it gets to the point where, like, quality of the matches is almost secondary.
Yeah, and that hurts. And it's interesting with the women's side too. You see Julia, who, to a point with Julia, I get it. I mean, she's one of the top women's wrestlers in the world, but she's still adjusting to English. So I'm sure that they want to kind of get her squared away there. Stephanie McCourt might be in the same pocket there too. But then you wonder about somebody like Roxanne Perez. She's getting featured, but is she gonna? Can she crack that group that's at the top of WWE right now to become a women's world champion?
That's going to be the question. She's on. For all intents and purposes, she's on the Raw roster now. That's going to be the big question. Can she advance? Look, she had, I love Booker T to death, but she kind of had a safety net with NXT because of her relationship with Booker. How will that play into her work on Raw? We'll see. And look, Booker T runs a fantastic school down in the Houston area with reality wrestling. I've seen it up close and personal. He has it dialed in. But time will tell with Roxanne, and we'll see.
Yeah, and it's an interesting group. You talk about, you mentioned about the women. The list of women's champions coming out of NXT: Shayna Baszler, Asuka, Mandy Rose, Roxanne Perez, Charlotte, Paige, Io Sky, Bailey, Raquel Gonzalez, Sasha Banks, Lyra Valkyria, Ember Moon, Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, Kairi Sane, Julia, Stephanie McCourt, Becky Lynch had stepped down there for a little bit, and Indy Hartwell. And almost all those women have gone on to or have either gone on to or look like they are headed for pretty big success. And that part of that is probably just because there's less women wrestlers out there than guys. So they were able to get them in there. But yeah, go ahead.
None of us brought up Braun Breaker. I forgot about him. Crap. Look at what he's done. He started in NXT real quick. So you never know. It is subjective, but I think as times have changed, the purpose and scope of NXT has changed, just like Stu was saying.
Yeah,
well, and you mentioned Braun Breaker. Let's not forget who his father and his uncle are.
Yes. He was pretty much ready to just get a few matches and be ready to roll. So
yeah.
Pre-packaged on that one just a little bit.
I know we got to go to break, but the list you mentioned of women's champions, there were quite a few of there that aren't in WWE anymore.
There are a few. Yeah, Indy Hartwell is the one that I was, because I remember that whole thing that Roxanne got hurt and then she was fine a week later.
She just signed with TNA.
Yeah, which is interesting because WWE is pretty much, I think they're kind of shadow running TNA at this point. But yeah, who am I to say? But by the way, speaking of that, we're going to talk a little bit about TNA and some cool stuff for a good friend of mine over there, and some changes coming to TNA too. So we'll be back to talk about the new rules in TNA and a couple of promotions. So congratulations to the people we'll mention in a little bit. Stick around on the Mark Hoke Show on KDAWN 101.5 FM Talk of Las Vegas. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Manny at Fetch-A-Tech, the best plumbing and AC company here in Las Vegas. And I have to tell you that I love my dog, Ollie. And that's why we'll give you 10% off any plumbing or AC repairs if you have a pet in the house. Not kidding. At Fetch-A-Tech Air Conditioning and Plumbing, we show up on time, we keep our word, and are as loyal as your favorite dog. So what you waiting for? Call or Google Fetch-A-Tech and get an automatic 10% discount on repairs or get a $49 AC tune-up. And as we all know, you can always trust someone who loves dogs. So call Fetch-A-Tech. We're doggone good and we're doggone fast. And if you have a pet, you get 10% off plumbing or AC repairs and a $49 tune-up. So call Fetchatech right now at 702-509-2000 or just Google Fetchatech. That's 702-509-2000 or Google Fetchatech, and we'll come a running.
Service that's agreed upon.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time. Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. Big and loud doesn't always mean right. And the conventional mold doesn't define success. Goodbye, false quick buck promises. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, with integrity, experience, and authenticity. We're champions for the underdog. Life happens, and when you need help, you deserve a team without hidden agendas. A team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. So if you've been hurt in a crash, call Sam and Ash, 702-303-0333. Sam and Ash, because you deserve what's right.
Hi, I'm Aaron Taylor, the real estate guy. At 15 years old, I was homeless with no guidance or education. I was sleeping in my car, scared and alone, wondering where my next meal would come from. An experience no child should ever endure. But I got through it, thanks to the generosity of thoughtful people just like you. Through hard work and faith, I built a successful life in real estate. Now in these later years of my career, I am using that success to focus on something far greater. I'm helping the children who are walking the same path that I once did. That's why I created Just One for One, because it only takes $1 per paycheck to make a difference. To a child, $1 can mean food, safety, and most of all, hope. Together, we could change the lives of the children that need it the most. Please visit justoneforone.org to make your donation today. That's justoneforone.org. Be the difference in a child's life today. Sponsored by Aaron Taylor, the real estate guy. Aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
1015 FM KDAWN. You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
And you want pro wrestling, you got it right here on the Mark Hoke Show on KDAWN 1015 FM, the talk of Las Vegas. Having a blast here. And by the way, I got to remind everybody, if you need custom embroidery, shirts, merchandise, whatever, my good friend Mike Franco from Off Grid Creations, man, he is going to take awesome care of you. He does work nationwide, and I can tell you this, like that beautiful sign right over my shoulder there, you can get something like that done. Anything you need, he's going to handle you. You can visit the website at off-gridcreations.com or give Mike a call for a free consultation at 661-300-1115. That's 661-300-1115 at off-gridcreations.com. And my good buddy Mike Franco is going to take awesome care of you. Guys, some changes at TNA in and out of the ring. And this is some pretty fascinating stuff. First, I want to congratulate a good friend of mine who has just gotten a promotion in TNA. Ross Foreman, who has one of the thankless jobs of coordinating media and has been doing it for a long time with TNA, was promoted to the role of a vice president, along with Eric Tompkins, who is the director of TV production over there. So they have both been pushed up the ladder, and I think both you guys probably know Ross pretty well, and what a deserving promotion for him for sure.
Yeah, Ross is he tirelessly works, doing the setting up the interviews for all the different outlets that want them, and he's a good dude, and I'm happy. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, it's a terrific call for TNA. But here's one of the interesting calls that we're going to see. I mean, there's been some pretty nasty matches in TNA lately, guys. But TNA has announced that they will not be allowing blading or excessive bleeding in their matches anymore. They want to be more advertiser friendly. So they are done with it. Purposeful bleeding, blading out at TNA, Coach Rosey. You surprised
said
at
it.
this? Or is this
They-
WWE kind of looking over the shoulder and saying, hey, boys, let's chill this out?
Yeah, but you made a very important statement. They wanted it to be more advertiser friendly because TNA is trying to get a network. And there's no way you're going to get a network deal unless, it's HBO. I don't know how Tony Khan got it. But at that level, you're not going to get a major deal if you're going to have a bunch of blood. So I've heard through the grapevine that they really are trying to make a push. They had that live TNA Impact on Thursday night for people that are in their streaming service as almost like a pilot for a live weekly show, because that's what they're trying to do. They had some people there from different networks to check it out, and that's why they were in LA.
Interesting. Good work, Coach. Good work. Stu, your thoughts on the new blood policy for TNA?
I think you said it. This is coming straight. This is straight out of the WWE playbook, and I think of the first two names coming to mind: Sami Callihan and Mance Warner.
Oh.
You look at, you think about that barbed wire match they just had. And Sami is no stranger to hardcore matches. I've known Sami for a long time. I think that he probably won't mind bleeding a little less.
Yeah, I would think so.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's not the biggest deal in the yard, but yeah, I think that's a little bit of WWE, saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this. And yeah, to Coach's point, trying to find a new home, new TV home. Yeah, you gotta make the advertisers happy. So that's one way to do it, I suppose.
They even made it a point on the TNA Impact live show to have Sami and Mance Warner shake hands and make a truce with Santino right there in the locker room. Santino brought them together as part of the end of their storyline. They shook hands and said good battle, blah, blah, blah. And that was it, So there's some true credence to that. I don't think you're going to see blood unless it's hard way.
That seems kind of lame. I'm sorry. Having watched both of those guys for a long time, to have them below the feud off with a handshake, that just doesn't seem right.
That's a little out of character.
But
I wish Phil Stamper was here. Phil's been tied up with doing some, because of course he does wrestle and does other things for companies. But I wish Phil was here. I would love to hear his reaction to that. But we'll hopefully have him back.
I didn't say it was good. I just said that's what they did.
Fair enough.
You gotta go, guys. It was good seeing everybody. I'll see you next week.
All right, Coach Rosey.
See you,
out of here.
Off to church.
All right. God bless that man. Coach Rosey from Ad Free Shows. Make sure you check out Ad Free Shows.
Go.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah, maybe we'll have to start. I'll have to start heading to church after I get out of here. But you do what you got to do. Yeah, and part of the reaction too is that Macklin Eric Young dog collar match they had last week too. That one was pretty brutal. But
dog collar match, you think? Look, I think the most famous dark collar match may have to be Piper and Valentine from Starrcade '83. That was when Piper busted an eardrum, and that was. Now they've had some good ones. I think of Briscoe's FTR. I think that was the final clash right before Jade passed away. So, collar matches are brutal.
Yes, they are. All right. Well, what's not brutal is the Mark Hoke Show, and we're going to come back with more for you with myself and Stu Myrick from Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Still a lot going on. In fact, there's a change at the top 2 in WWE. We're going to talk about that. Backlash is coming up on Saturday, and some pretty cool stuff going on in AEW. And Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff are back together again in what I think is a pretty cool business venture. We're going to talk about all of it when we return. Make sure you follow us on X at Mark Hoke Show, Facebook, The Mark Hoke Show, YouTube, The Mark Hoke Show. Like, subscribe, click buttons, whatever you got to do. Just join the family. We would certainly appreciate it. We'll see you on the other side of the break, everybody, for another hour of the Mark Hoke Show. We'll be right back. Want more of the Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join the Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.
Looking for high-quality custom screen printing in Las Vegas? Look no further than Off-Grid Creations. Need a few custom t-shirts for a local event, band merchandise, or family reunion? We've got you covered. Large order of uniforms for your staff, sports team, or club? We can handle that too. Our experienced team will work closely with you throughout the entire process from design consultation to final product. Call us at 661-300-1115. That's 661-300-1115. Or visit our website at off-gridcreations.com. Get a free consultation today.
If you need to sell your house,
Talk to Aaron Taylor.
You want to sell it fast and get the most cash. Talk to Aaron Taylor,
The real estate guy.
Hi, I'm Aaron Taylor. I've been helping families buy and sell homes for over 30 years. And the most rewarding part? Watching my son grow up in this business.
Hi, I'm Jacob Taylor, and I'm proud to say I'm now a broker working side by side with my dad to continue the legacy he started.
Our clients are like family to us. That's why we buy distressed properties within 24 hours or less, offer cash advances with zero interest, cover repairs up front, and go above and beyond to get our sellers top dollar.
And for our buyers, we negotiate like it's for our own family, because that's how we treat every client.
Experience, integrity, and heart. That's what we bring to every deal.
So call the real estate guy at 702-310-6683 or visit therealestateguyLV.com.
eXp Realty, license number 38886. Call for details.
talk to Aaron Taylor,
The real estate guy.
It's RSV season, and RSV can be really dangerous for some people. 160,000 people a year will end up hospitalized with RSV, struggling to breathe, facing pneumonia, heart failure, and even death. If you're 60 or older, talk to your doctor about protecting your health with an RSV vaccine. This message funded by a grant from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Immunization and Vaccines for Children program, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
You know what's better than a limited time deal? An unlimited time deal. That's why the Wendy's $5 biggie bag with a junior bacon cheeseburger, 4-piece nugs, junior hot and crispy fries, and small soft drink is available all the time. Because the best time for fresh, never frozen beef and Applewood smoked bacon is all the time. Duh. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's.
Unlimited time does not mean forever. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and California and via third-party delivery. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
KMXP HD3 Henderson, K268CS Las Vegas. Always live on the free Odyssey app. 1015 FM KDAWN.
Defending his policy, I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News. President Trump continues to stand behind his tariff policy, telling NBC's Meet the Press his stance against China is actually helping America.
We've gone cold turkey. That means that we're not losing. You know, we lost $1 trillion to China. $1 trillion. That means we're not losing $1 trillion when we go cold turkey because we're not doing business with them right now.
Now, the April jobs report showing a higher than expected addition of 177,000 jobs. The president weeks ago announcing reciprocal tariffs for a slew of countries and then pausing them temporarily. But China has not been subject to that pause, but has seen tariffs reach as high as 145%. Critics of Mr. Trump, however, say his tariffs plans are creating economic uncertainty, instability, and fears of a recession. Meantime, the president's calling on Congress to move fast on what he often refers to as his one big, beautiful bill.
Top Republicans have been meeting with President Trump and advisors here as they draft a reconciliation bill intended to extend and expand tax cuts, slash regulations, and cut more than $1 trillion in spending.
We have never trimmed
mandatory spending. We have to. There is simply not enough tax revenue that we can go after.
Florida Republican Byron Donalds tells the Fox News Rundown from Washington podcast Republicans are also aiming to reform Medicaid to keep it solvent. Democrats say that will amount to cuts in critical services. GOP leaders hope to have a final package approved before July. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Counterterrorism officers in Britain arresting several Iranian men over an alleged plot to attack an unspecified target in London. Police saying 5 men between 29 and 46 were detained Saturday in various parts of England on suspicion of a terrorist act preparation. The investigation continues. America's listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
Get your daily dose of news with the Fox News Rundown. A contrast of perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. Going far beyond the headlines. Tomorrow morning at 5 on 101.5 FM KDAWN.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Going bell to bell with the best in professional wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's get to all the exciting pro wrestling action and bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
I have still got to start getting that right on the live stream, pointing in the opposite direction. I keep screwing that up. Gosh darn it, Stu Myrick. I'm a failure at sometimes. I got to work on it. But anyway.
Got to work on it.
Welcome to the Mark Hoke Show, Hour 2 here on KDAWN 101.5 FM. The Talk of Las Vegas. We're bringing you the best in pro wrestling on KDAWN, the Odyssey app. If you haven't downloaded the Odyssey app, I would certainly think that, the dreary skies of Las Vegas are going to open up for you and the sun will shine if you download it. AUDACY. And Stu's checking outside. He's probably got 80 and sunny.
I can tell you in a moment. I know it's sunny. Now, we had rain through the latter half of the week, but it ended overnight Friday. It is 70 and
70
here in the beautiful ATX.
Yeah, well, I woke up this morning to wet roads and some sprinkles. So cloudy skies.
That front, I think that's the next front that's supposed to come through here.
Yeah, I wish it'd stay for a while. We need the rain. But anyway, we're not a weather show. We're a wrestling show. And we are also streaming on YouTube, X, and Facebook. On X at Mark Hoke Show, Facebook, The Mark Hoke Show, and as well as YouTube. And if you want to get in and make comments, talk to us, or just see our smiling faces, feel free to sign in there and do so as well. We would certainly appreciate it. Stu, we were talking about all the releases that happened in the first hour. So if you want to go back and hear our reactions to those people that were unfortunately let go by WWE, you can rewind on the Odyssey app or, download the podcast later on Podbean. But there was also an interesting little change too at WWE. And I'm wondering if this isn't fallout from WrestleMania. And this is a name that you probably haven't heard, but I think this is very fascinating that WWE Senior Vice President of Creative Writing Operations, Christine Lubrano, was let go by WWE. She oversaw all strategic operations for WWE Creative, with creative teams from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, reported to Lebrano and Bruce Pritchard. So, dude, that is a serious firing right there. And I'm almost wondering if it isn't part of some of the negative feedback from WrestleMania and some other things on the shows lately. That kind of catch you off guard a little bit. And is Brian Gerwitz getting ready to take over there?
You know, that's and that's a good question. It is an interesting firing. There is the notion that actually has nothing to do with creative or anything else. There is the notion that with this merger under TKO, that they are trying to consolidate staffs across WWE, UFC, and I guess PBR as much as they can. Now, what this would have to do with that, I don't know. I think it's unfair that she takes the axe for what happened at WrestleMania, because as I've said repeatedly on this show, on my show, it's The Rock's fault. The Rock needs to stay away. The Rock needs to deal with his that movie he's doing where he's doing the UFC fight, playing the UFC fighter. I think Brian Gerwitz, as talented as he is, I would put him in there.
And by the way, just so everybody knows who Brian Gerwitz is, I probably should mention that. Brian has basically been The Rock's personal writer for God knows how long now, and has been in and out of the WWE creative process. So, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
He was head writer. I want to say it was in the 2000s, maybe, but nevertheless, I think let's put it this way, if we do see Brian Gerwitz being added to the WWE staff, I think Triple H might be in trouble.
That is a possibility, because we have seen a lot of discussion about that. There's been friction between the two, and I can't imagine after the last two WrestleManias that there isn't friction in that writing room. I mean, you think about how the Rock interjected himself the last time. It was basically telling them, you're about to throw away 2 years of storyline with Cody Rhodes for me, because I want to wrestle Roman Reigns in Philadelphia. So you're going to do that. And then this fiasco this year with John Cena and him, of course, he was asked by Nick Khan to go to Elimination Chamber because they weren't selling tickets. I wonder why, because they're ridiculously expensive.
I don't buy that for a moment, though. I still don't buy that.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing WWE has not had a problem with in the last 2 years is selling tickets.
So you think this is BS from The Rock?
Yes, absolutely.
What's your theory?
It's simple. The Rock The Rock is bored. Maybe he's not doing as many movies now. I don't know. But no, the fact that the notion that Nick Khan would ask The Rock to get involved so they can sell more tickets, they haven't had a problem selling tickets up to this point. So, what was the difference with Elimination Chamber? Just because it was in Toronto? I think that would make it a hotter ticket. I think, Toronto fans would be even more juiced up for it. Yeah. I just think The Rock wanted to get involved in creative. Simple as that.
That's a very interesting thought, Stu. And, I might agree with you on that. That's a heck of a thought. And of course, stuck his nose in, and, that changed everything. And then they didn't finish the storyline out at WrestleMania. And just the more and more I've been talking to people about that. And, we even had Brett Raymer from Tank fame on the show last week. And he was just sitting there saying, what happened there? Yeah. That made no sense. And now we're seeing one of the top people on the creative team getting canned over this. And there's, it's funny too, because you do have, like Triple H did say, you do have to, and it's not that the internet isn't real, but you do have to take some of the comments with a grain of salt, obviously.
Of course.
But at the same time, you see a lot of people talking about TKO, which is the parent company of WWE, UFC, and PBR, saying that TKO is ruining WWE. That may be going a little bit far, but it's funny. I was watching a SmackDown last night, and I saw the graphic come up for Backlash with John Cena and Randy Orton. And in the middle of the graphic text, there was a little logo for Morgan & Morgan. And we out here know Morgan & Morgan because there's a million injury lawyers out here, and we hear about them all the time on the radio and so on. But I was just sitting there saying, why do you have a logo for a lawyer in the middle of the text? The middle. And I'm just, I mean, honestly, Stu, if you and I were getting paid, we'd probably be wearing patches from every organization on the planet right now, right? We would whore ourselves out. There's no question. But at the same time, WWE is selling everything. It's everything. And it's getting a little hard to watch at times when you're constantly bombarded with sponsors from
You're right.
The jump.
You're absolutely right. But Mark, you and I have been in the radio business for a long time. We know, it's all about the advertisers. And right now, WWE is all about the advertisers. Look at all the, all the logos that are on the mat in the ring now. Every match has a sponsor. Every segment has a sponsor. It's it's kind of like watching the NFL. This instant replay brought to you by whatever. It's that. That's the thing, and that's Morgan & Morgan. I think they signed on as the official injury attorney of WWE or something like that. So again, it's a sponsor. And look, we've got our what was it? TJH or something like that. They're a Texas-based, injury attorney. And there's several others, and they all make really silly commercials. But yeah, it's about that ad revenue, and that's WWE's trying to keep that money, printing out that money, and so that's why you see all these ads, all the logos on logos, and I think unfortunately that's here to stay.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, Bionic Scoop in the chat box, and we got to say hi to Scoop. I watched enough soccer, AAA, and CMLL. I'm immune to logos everywhere. Good point.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well,
good point.
Austin FC has Yeti right across the kit. I mean, and not to mention there is actually a whole Yeti section in the stadium store at Q2 Stadium here in Austin, the home of Austin FC of Major League Soccer. Yeah, you're right. Look at the NBA. In fact, I remember when they started doing it in the G League, or then it was the D League, when they started putting logos on the jerseys, and now you're seeing the NBA.
And MLB.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
Baseball, exactly.
Yeah. So, guys, I know you hate it, but get used to it because it's not going anywhere anytime. I'm just waiting for somebody to get maybe Logan Paul will get a Prime tattoo. He might have one already.
I have so little interest in Logan Paul. I'm sorry. I'm 56 years old. I'll be 57 in August. I am not in his demographic.
Yeah, you're not.
I'll watch YouTube to watch old, music clips and wrestling clips and stuff. I'm not watching Logan Paul.
Fair enough. Well, coming up, we've got Backlash, and we're going to start digging into that a little bit. But Stu, first, are you excited about Backlash at all coming up? I'm somewhat torn on this. I mean, obviously I'm going to watch it, but what are you feeling about just overall about Backlash right now?
It's hard to get, really juiced up because I think as of right now, I think 3-4 matches right now.
Got 4. Yeah, we got 4
matches.
right now.
The main event, Cena Orton. Look, this would have been exciting 15 years ago. Now, everybody knows Cena's winning. B, it's a one last whatever. I get it. And and I think part of it is the lack of enthusiasm over Cena being a heel. It's kind of like what I was talking about last week or whenever I said it, about Cena's playing a part. It's not it's not believable. So I'm not. I'll be honest. I mean, I'll watch it, but it's a B-level pay-per-view for a reason.
Yeah, and by the way, I'd love to hear what our people in our chat box think about that. So if you're on YouTube, X, or Facebook, tell us what you're thinking about Backlash right now. And I'm gonna say I mostly agree with you about the Cena Orton match. This would have been more fun if they'd have done it towards the end of John's run, because you do it now, and as you said, I think it's pretty obvious that John Cena is going to win this thing. But if it would have been closer to the end, and you may have had some suspense that maybe Orton was going to get him at the end, that maybe there'd be some sort of goofy thing happen. Maybe The Rock or Travis Scott screws up or, something. That might have made this fun to kind of wrap everything up and have more suspense to it. But doing it right off the bat, I think that they decided, I'm sure they probably had it planned, but especially after what happened at WrestleMania, we gotta get a big match out here and get 2 big names to kind of pull this thing back together. And they just said, let's go with Randy Orton to start off. It might have been better if they'd have waited.
Yeah, I think you may be right. I'll be interested to see what we just talked about ticket sales in WWE. I've got a good buddy of mine, Joe Roderick, who does sports talk in St. Louis, and he's a big wrestling guy. He's been on my show quite a few times. I may have to reach out to him, see what ticket sales are like there in St. Louis. The other one, Pat McAfee and Gunther. I mean, look, I think I mentioned this. I am a big subscriber to what Jim Ross said. Nobody wants to see a commentator take bumps. And Pat McAfee is, look, he's not your average commentator. He is a former NFL kicker. He's done matches before, and they've been decent. But it's Gunther.
Yeah.
It's, I'm not that one. That's going to be the, okay, let's get this over with.
Yeah, and the other 2 matches on the card, Lyra Valkyria is going to be defending the Intercontinental Championship against Becky Lynch. And I think it's fairly obvious that Becky's probably going to walk out of there with the Intercontinental Championship. Though I would like to see a twist. I think you could pull something off, and maybe Bayley's going to get involved in this thing and stop her. Because, of course, she admitted that she attacked Bayley at WrestleMania. So maybe there'll be a little turn on that one.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm a big Lyra Valkyria fan, so I want her to at least hold on the title this time. So, yeah, I'd be all for a Bayley interjection.
Yeah, she might be the purest baby face in WWE on the main roster right now, I would think. Yeah, she's like white as snow, and let's keep her that way and keep that IC title on her. And then we have a fatal 4-way for the U.S. title. It's Jacob Fatu defending against LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre. Interesting match, but it's just too close to when Jacob won the title to take it off him. But it's happened before. Is there any chance that one of these other guys walks out with the U.S. title?
No. I hate to say that, but no. Look, yeah, like you just said, Jacob Fatu just won the title 3 weeks ago. They're not taking it off him. He's one of their hottest faces right now, so you're not going to take the title off of him just yet. Not to mention, you still got to sow this, dissension between him and Solo Sikoa. So they're not taking the title off him anytime soon. I think you could see, with LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre. Problem is, they've all feuded with each other, at least once or twice. So it's kind of like, okay, I think after this, they need to get involved in new stories, and I don't know where those would go, but no. Bottom line, Fatu isn't losing the title.
Yeah. So I think Brian Scoop said it best, but watch it anyway. It's going to be fun, but he is saying the Backlash is a solid meh. Might be right on that. But I'm sure there'll be another match or two announced for the card, but they've been on these B-level PLEs. They've been cutting these matches, the cards down to about five matches or so. And by the way, betting odds on betonline.ag right now, Gunther is a minus 1,200 to Pat McAfee's plus 750. John Cena is a minus 2,500 to Randy Orton's plus 800. And Becky Lynch is the betting favorite at minus 450 to Lyra Valkyria's plus 275. So maybe if you want to slip a little coin on Lyra, that might be your best bet.
I'd do that. If I was a betting man, I'd definitely do that.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say I had a radio colleague by the name of Bucky Godbolt, former running backs coach of Texas, coach Ricky Williams and Priest Holmes. He always talked about his uncle putting the bets on. So we always refer to as Bucky's uncle.
Nice. So if you do want to take a shot at some of these, you can go on the Mark Hoke Show and click on the betonline.ag banner. You're going to get a sign-up bonus of 50% up to $1,000. So that means if you would put $1,000 on there, you can pick up 500 extra bucks just by signing up. That's awesome. And you can bet on all sorts of sports, other activities. I'm just looking at it right now. You can bet on cycling, financials, handball, rugby, politics, table tennis, Stu. You feel like putting a little money on some ping pong?
No. Cycling, though, you got Tour de France coming up in what, about a month or so? So
yeah,
that's
so a lot of fun. Go check it out at go to markhokeshow.com, and then you can get on betonline.ag, and you can even play poker on there too. It's a pretty cool site. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, let's move over to AEW, shall we? Because we've got our Owen Hart Cup final set, and what I think is going to be a fun match on Wednesday. I don't know if something really big is going to happen, but it's still going to be a fun match. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back on the Mark Hoke Show. I've got Stu Myrick from Sports Guys Talking Wrestling with me. We'll be right back.
Do you want to sell a property but it needs a lot of repairs? Do you want to avoid the hassles of a traditional listing and waiting for an offer? Tired of cash buyers promising the world only to reduce your price along the way? Wedgwood Homes is firm on their offer and actively buying homes in Las Vegas for 20 years. Wedgwood Homes has no fees, no agent commissions, no listing contracts, no repairs, and can close in as little as 3 days. Whether you're selling as-is, tough rental properties, inherited a home, foreclosures, or just financially stressed right now, or want to skip a traditional listing, make your next move with Wedgwood Homes. You can count on a Wedgwood Homes offer. We help turn your home or property into cash. It's easy. No repairs, no cleanings, no showings. We'll hold your hand throughout the process and work on your timeline. Wedgwood Homes won't reduce their offers. Our track record proves it, and we're revitalizing communities in Las Vegas for 20 years. Call now for a no-obligation, all-cash offer from Wedgwood Homes, 702-996-3583. Las Vegas's trusted home buyer, 702-996-3583, 702-996-3583, or wedgwoodhomes.com.
While retinitis pigmentosa takes Mark's vision, his family gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
So, you want to buy a house. You could go online, do your research, find the dream listing, go see it, and get catfished. Back to the drawing board. More scheduling, more viewings, more this doesn't even look like the photos. You could finally find one that does match the photos. Then comes the offer. Stress rush? Yep, make that 3. And here's the paperwork. Yep, never-ending paperwork. It's a lot, but you don't have to do it alone. Because there's an agent who's a realtor here to guide and help protect you as you find the home that's right for you. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. Right by you.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
Gain a global perspective and specialized skills that many of today's top employers are seeking with an MBA from University of Maryland Global Campus. Study online and complete your degree in just 16 months for about $21K. Choose from MBA specializations in global business, marketing, HR, finance, and more. Classes start May 14th. Apply now and save with no application fee. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chef.
1015 FM KDAWN. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
Let's do this. The Mark Hoke Show. Best in pro wrestling news and entertainment. Stu Myrick from Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on with me here. Hopefully Phil's going to be back next week. He's getting booked everywhere. It's kind of scary.
Hey, he's a hot talent. Hey, and you got to make that paper. So,
yeah,
good on Phil.
Yeah, Phil's pretty awesome. So, hopefully, we'll get Phil back. Why is it that every time we have something come up with Sami Callihan that Phil is not here?
Well, he is part of Wrestling Revolver, which is Sami Callihan's promotion. So, put two together.
But every time we have something to talk about with Sami Callihan.
Oh, Phil's not here?
Phil's not here to talk about it.
And that's the thing. I'm not sure if Phil could say much, because of his working relationship with Sami.
But that's part of the fun. Well, then
I get it. I like Sami. I've liked Sami for a long time. He used to come to Austin all the time when Wrestle Circus was still a thing, and he was fantastic.
Well, we got to get Sami on the show sometime. It's ridiculous we haven't had him on. We're going to have to work on that. But let's go to AEW, shall we? As the road to Double or Nothing in Glendale, Arizona is heating up, getting ready for, I believe that's Saturday, May 25th. Did I have the date right? Or the day right?
So,
see. Sunday, May 25th, excuse me. And we have our finals for the Owen Hart tournament. And I'm slightly intrigued. I think these are going to be very good matches. First, on the men's side, it's going to be Will Ospreay and Hangman Adam Page, which should be an absolute war. But, of course, the big thing is the winner is going to get a shot at the World Championship. Stu, what are you thinking on this? Is there any chance that we're not going to get Will Ospreay in that thing? Or what are you feeling on this one?
I do like the match. If for no other reason, we have seen Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher a bunch. So it was time to shift from that. So the fact that they put Hangman in that position is good. I think there's a chance. I'm still going to be, thinking Will Ospreay, because I don't know. I mean, Hangman Adam Page has a pretty sizable fan following. So I think it's possible. I again, if I were a betting man, I'm still going to put my money on Will Ospreay, but we'll see what happens. That's all at a Double or Nothing, the finals, to set up that world title match at All In Arlington. Because
I think they're going to.
I'll be honest, it's kind of a tough one.
Yeah, I kind of think that they're planning on doing trying to put Swerve and Hangman in a tag match against the Bucks. So we'll see if that rumor comes true. But yeah, I think it's time to get Will on top. No, he may be the best wrestler in the world. I mean, obviously that is completely subjective, but in terms of what he does in the ring and the enthusiasm that he has for pro wrestling. If you go back, I interviewed Will when they were back here in Las Vegas a while back, and he's at the pool with his wife, and he just can't stop talking about pro wrestling. I mean, you get around the guy, and it's so infectious. And I think he would be a great guy to continue to bring AEW back on this upswing that they're on and keep it rolling.
Well,
so
and especially change the tenor after this, disaster of a John Moxley run. Put it on Will Ospreay, who is just like you said. You get around him, you can't help but smile. And so I think that would be a good move. I like the idea of Swerve and Hangman tagging together after everything they've been through. I think that could be intriguing. So yeah, that's why I say I'm still thinking it's Will Ospreay. It just wouldn't shock me if they pivot.
Yeah, and there is another person hanging around out there, and Jesse Hyde brings him up. Darby Allin's coming back at AEW Double or Nothing. I don't know if he's going to be back from.
No,
he's up in Mount Everest. I don't think he's going to be back in time.
No,
I think he's up there for like 3 months. So
exactly, he's not going to be back for All In. He's still climbing Mount Everest. That's not something you do in a day. That is a long and arduous climb. That's why there has been just very, very few people that have even attempted it, much less accomplished it.
Yeah. So it's funny too, if you ever see the videos of people going up there, it's not like a huge line or anything, but when they get to that encampment at the top, there's kind of a little bit of a line to get up to the summit and be up there for a while and come back down. It's pretty interesting, but yeah, Darby's tied up for Double or Nothing. Now All In is borderline. He may be able to make an appearance and get back. Maybe I'd have to look and see when he left.
I'd be shocked
because I think he's been up there for, I want to say about 6 weeks. So he might be able to get back for All In. Who knows?
I thought he didn't start until in April. But
yeah, I think
you're right. You may be right.
Yeah, it's been about 4 to 6 weeks, somewhere in there. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if Darby can get back in time and show up at least. But yeah, and Trell, by the way, saying in the chat box, wish it was still in Vegas. They'll be back. They'll be back. I had a conversation, and the only reason that they're not doing Double or Nothing in Vegas is because of WrestleMania. Just being everything too saturated with wrestling, they didn't want to do another big event right after WrestleMania here. So
don't burn out the territory.
Right. So don't blame them on that. Our women's match, Mercedes Moné taking on Jamie Hayter. So the belt collector in AEW trying to get to the main event and take on, in all probability, Toni Storm at All In. Or does Jamie Hayter get a rematch or get a chance to get her belt back that, she was injured? What do you think about that one, Stu? Is there any chance Jamie Hayter's going to pull this out?
I would say it's probably going to be Mercedes, because they're kind of, they put the belt collector thing on her now. Is there a chance? Sure, there is. I think the more intriguing match would be Mercedes versus Toni. Having said that, I hope, if that is the match, I hope they don't take the title off Toni. Personally, I think Mercedes Moné has been champion too long with her other titles. I think it's time to start letting a few of those, at least one or two of those, go. But we're not going to see that anytime soon. I don't even know, I mean, you think about like maybe Forbidden Door, maybe there's the, there's a possibility of her defending the New Japan Strong Women's title at Forbidden Door in London, although that's in August. So, but I think Mercedes Toni is probably the more intriguing match for All In.
Well, what'll be fun to see if Mercedes does win this match is, does she drop the TBS title along the way? Does something happen maybe where Toni costs her the TBS title, so we get that title off of her before we get to All In. Possibility.
It's a possibility. It's kind of one of those. Does Tony really want to, or does Tony Khan want to really see Mercedes, collect all the belts? I personally don't, but I'm not Tony Khan. I'm not sitting there in the booking room. So it's possible. We'll see.
See, I don't think that they anticipated when they brought Mercedes in, I don't think they anticipated Toni Storm being as successful and popular as she is. Because I think I would imagine that the road was probably, we're going to make Mercedes the superstar of the division. She's going to roll her way through and eventually win the women's championship. But Toni Storm has just captivated everybody. And that makes that decision for Tony a lot harder to take that championship off of her when, my God, everybody loves this woman.
I would say, and I've seen this at least in one or two places, I would say Toni Storm is a bigger star in AEW than Mercedes Moné.
Would agree. I would agree.
Yeah.
So don't envy the guy with the pencil. By the way, speaking of that pencil, Jesse Hyde in the chat box brought up the brouhaha about Moné having creative control, comparing her to Hulk Hogan. I don't think it's quite that case, but she does have Jennifer. Oh my God, I'm forgetting her name. The
person that wrote her promos in WWE.
Yeah, is doing writing for her.
That's not creative control. That's just working with somebody familiar.
Right. So that kind of not buying that. I mean, Tony's going to do what Tony's going to do. If you haven't learned that, Tony's going to do what Tony's going to do.
Tony Khan, not Tony Storm.
Yeah, not Toni Storm. But yeah, he is firmly in control of what's going on with the booking over there. So he's not changing his mind for anybody, as we've found out. So yeah, let that one go, guys. But and then also, by the way, pretty cool thing they're doing, a residency at the 2300 building. Of course, the famous home of ECW. How about that? They're going to be doing a bunch of going to be there for a while, like they did down in with you guys in Arlington.
Sports Stadium in Arlington. Yeah. So they're doing it's multiple dates, including Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor. They're doing it at 2300 Arena. And that's good. That's, hey, it's a famous arena. In fact, it makes me kind of wish the Sportatorium was still around.
Oh,
because could you imagine AEW in the Sportatorium in Dallas? I mean, that would be, I know every fan in Texas would want that ticket.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be just phenomenal. Plus you still got Ross and Marshall Von Erich as, 2/3 of the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team Champions with Dustin Rhodes. So you can only imagine what that would look like. Even if they did just a Ring of Honor show in the Sportatorium, have them show up, and obviously Kevin would have to be in tow because it's Kevin.
Yes.
But yeah, 2300 Arena, that'll be a fun spot for AEW and Ring of Honor. And looking forward to those shows coming up in September.
Yeah, it should be great. Would the Sportatorium be able to handle that? That old building?
If it was still around, sure. I mean, they did TV forever. All those world-class shows, and that was back in the 80s. So sure. Now, it was not a big building, so it's kind of like being at Esports Stadium in Arlington. You're only going to get maybe a couple thousand at most, but that ticket would sell out in a heartbeat.
It'd be disgusting.
I mean, there would be, I would say, like I said, I think it would, you couldn't, and scalpers would be selling those things at premium. Can you imagine if it was still standing today? Man,
I wonder what the ticket would go for. I mean, I would think Tony could probably sell those for between $500 and $1,000 a seat.
Oh, easily.
That'd be fascinating.
Yeah.
Maybe Tony should rebuild the sportatorium. That'd give him something to do.
He's got to buy that lot first.
Yeah.
I mean, I say he's got to buy that lot. Yes, I suppose he could find somewhere else in the Metroplex. There's plenty of land, but there's just something about that corner of, now it's Industrial in Riverside, I believe it used to be Industrial in Katie's, because that's what Bill Mercer would always tell you, the late great Bill Mercer. But it's Industrial in Riverside, I believe. And it's not in the best part of Dallas, let's just say. But to have a wrestling arena on that spot, I think that would become a mecca. And
yes.
I mean, and I've stood on that lot every time I would go to Dallas for a wrestling event. I made sure and stop there just to pay my respects.
There you go. All right, and we're going to head to break, but before we do, I got to remind everybody real quick about the Travel Shark. You know, maybe you're going to head down to Dallas. You're going to head out to the 2300 arena out there in Philly and check it out and see what's going on. Well, you're going to need a hotel room, and look, I'm going to get you the best price. Go to thetravelshark.com/Hoke Show. You got to add that on /Hoke Show, and it's powered by Priceline. You get all those mystery prices, employee prices. You don't have to play any games. Just sign up for free, and you are going to save a ton of money, I promise. Coach Rosey used it. He absolutely loved it, and I'm sure you will too. So make sure you go to thetravelshark.com /Hoke Show. You can also go to my website, markhokeshow.com, and click on the banner there. And promise you, the Travel Shark is going to take great care of you. All right, let's take that break, and we're going to wrap things up in a final segment. I'm going to throw a question at Stu. Where does this John Cena thing and The Rock and Cody end up? It's going to be a tall tale for us, I think, to tie this thing together, but I thought it'd be fun to give it a shot. So stick around, everybody. We'll be right back on the Mark Hoke Show.
Are you purchasing or leasing a new vehicle and need some extra cash for a down payment? Dollar Loan Center has you covered.
Dollar Loan Center. Dollar Loan Center. Dollar Loan Center.
Getting a new vehicle is always expensive. Down payment, registration, insurance, title, and tags, it never ends. But Don'tBeBroke.com can help. At Dollar Loan Center, you can get a signature loan up to $5,000, and you get your money the same day. Actually, you usually get it in around 30 minutes. It's that quick. And unlike your car loan, less than perfect credit is the norm at DLC. Stop by one of our 60 locations, apply over the phone with a real person, or online at Don'tBeBroke.com from the comfort of your smartphone.
Dollar Loan Center.
Dollar Loan Center has you covered.
Division. Subject to approval, limitations may apply. See website for details. Stand Up to Cancer asked leading cancer researchers to speak about why they do their work.
Two words come to mind for me. One is responsibility. The other is purpose.
It's just so inspiring to do research that impacts human lives.
Stand Up to Cancer has been a critical partner in advancing research for cancer.
Cancer research saves lives.
So please help us fight in this battle against cancer.
Be a part of the team that ends cancer at standuptocancer.org.
Hey, Sean Hannity here with the only real estate team in your market that I recommend. I'm talking about the Brinkus team of Keller Williams Realty, the marketplace. Now, thanks for joining me today. And what do you tell someone that wants to rent a home instead of selling it?
Well, Sean, they should always gather all the facts and consider all the options. Sometimes renting the home is the right decision. And sometimes, especially after repainting, replacing landscaping and flooring, sometimes it's better to sell when the home's at peak condition. That's when they're going to get the highest price. I suggest we meet. This way we can discuss all the options. And remember, I do this free of charge. This way they can get all the facts and make a good, informed decision.
All right. Thanks for keeping us up to date. Call the Brinkus team today at 702-456-5959, online at thebrinkusteam.com. That's thebrinkusteam.com.
License number BS16186. Call for details.
As we age, our immune systems may need a little extra support. That's why staying current with your COVID-19 vaccines is so important, especially for those 65 and older. Give your immune system the support it needs to keep you protected and healthy. Talk to your doctor about getting an additional COVID-19 vaccine dose. This message funded by a grant from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Immunization and Vaccines for Children program, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
1015 FM KDAWN. You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
That's right. We the ones. As the kids like to say today on the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN 1015 FM, the talk of Las Vegas, best in pro wrestling news and entertainment, coming to you live from the KDAWN studios in beautiful Southwest Las Vegas. I don't know if the cloud cover is gone yet. My shades are closed in the studio, so I can't quite see what's going on. I'm trapped like a rat, but it's all good. Stu Myrick from Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Awesome show. Make sure you check that out.
Coming on the fabulous Sports Guys Talking Wrestling studios in Northwest Austin.
There you go. That's how it works. I wanted to have a little discussion about John Cena and Cody and The Rock, but I did want to make sure I mentioned this before we do. Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, along with Izzy Martinez, are starting a new enterprise, Real American Freestyle, and this is going to be a kind of a UFC style promotion with freestyle wrestling, so an amateur style of wrestling. First card is going to be in August 30th in Cleveland. And Stu, what do you think? Is this a good idea? They said they were inspired by the NCAA championships, which of course Penn State won again because they're amazing. But this could be a lot of fun, I think.
It's intriguing. The problem is, and so I got to remember when this was. There was an attempt at a wrestling promotion that, had, it was either freestyle or Greco-Roman. They tried to do this. In fact, I think it was, what was the man that won the gold medal beat the Russian?
Oh no.
And
Rulon Gardner.
Thank you. They wanted to center promotion around him, and they tried, and there was an attempt to do this. It failed miserably. So good luck to Hogan and Bischoff. I'm not going to hold my breath for it.
I think if they start in the Northeast and stay up there, the Northeast and the Upper Midwest, they've got a shot.
Well, I think that might be part of it. That you got to hit the areas where that's, amateur wrestling.
And Oklahoma.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to hit the areas where it is more prevalent. Like I don't think Texas even has a wrestling team. But yeah, if you go Midwest, Northeast, maybe. I don't think they're going to see. I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see, but I'm not exactly going to, hold my breath on it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, what kind of rules they come up with, because I know they said they were going to be incentivizing some different things during matches, and and of course, it's going to have all the glitz and glamour you're going to need. So, it's intriguing. It's intriguing. I'm looking forward to it as somebody who enjoys amateur wrestling. So we'll see how that turns out. So now, Cody, Rock, and Cena. Stu, how do you think this is going to turn out? Because now we're hearing that there's going to be Cena Rhodes 2 possibly at SummerSlam. So, let's say Cody wins. Where do you take John Cena from there? And what if Cody loses? Do we have a John Cena Rock match coming up later on? Maybe even for the championship, and the Rock wins and you get Cody and Rock at WrestleMania to set that up. How do you see this turning out? And I mean, there's just some walls in between whatever path you go. So I'm curious, how do you think this is all going to go down?
I have said before, and I'm going to stick with this. So, I do think Cody needs to win the title back from Cena. SummerSlam seems to be the right event for that. Once that happens, I'll go with the scenario that I posed for WrestleMania. Cena versus Cody at SummerSlam. Main event. Cody wins the title back. Celebration. Fantastic. Cody's now a 2-time world champion. Cena's in the ring, wallowing. The Rock has come down. If he can find his way,
get off the beach.
Yeah, get off the beach. Rock comes down. Cena is like, he's, whatever, perplexed or whatever. And The Rock orders the hit on Cena. Then you have Rock versus Cena. It doesn't need to be for a title. Just have that because as I've said it, I do not think you want to see John Cena finish up his career as a heel.
Yeah.
He's got to be a babyface. He's got to go back to the hustle, loyalty, respect. What better way to do that against Rock?
Yeah, and I think they're going to probably have to do that at Survivor Series, would be my guess. Because now that you're doing that in Petco, so you're going to a stadium, you'd better have one hell of a main event to pack Petco Park. I mean, that's a big baseball stadium too.
It is.
So I'm going to be curious to see where the road leads for that, because you can't continue, John, through the end of the year and have him come around to WrestleMania. I already said this last WrestleMania. So you can't really stretch John Cena past that. And then the other question is, let's say we get Cena Rock at Survivor Series. Who wins the match? Does John go out as a winner, or does he follow the time-honored tradition of going out on, looking at the sky?
It depends on if that's the final match, because remember, he has said end of 2025. Survivor Series is in November, so you still got about a month. Now, as far as I remember, there, obviously there's not a big pay-per-view or PLE or whatever you want to call it in December. So I think because I don't think it would be Cena's final match at Survivor Series, I think Cena goes over, and then have him take the pinfall in December against somebody.
Yeah, and Jesse Hyde in chat box. I don't I think I missed a word there. The Cena is a heel champion is going to last until the end of the year. Kind of reminds us of the Invasion angle of 2002. So Jesse Hyde is with you, Stu, that John will not be a bad boy for the rest of this run. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think they've got maybe some booking hurdles to overcome, but I would think that we get Cena and Rock 3 at Survivor Series. So see how it goes. And guys, yeah. Hey, that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank God, because I can't talk anymore. We hope that you enjoyed the show, and we would certainly encourage you, if you have a minute, to give us a follow on X at Mark Hoke Show, Facebook, The Mark Hoke Show, follow the show there, and subscribe to us on YouTube. And that's going to make us very happy. Stu Myrick taking time out to do the show. As usual, we certainly do appreciate that. Hopefully we'll get Phil Stamper back on here in a little bit. Coach Rosey joining us as well as we get ready for Backlash on Saturday. So we'll have the results for that for you, and we'll get to whine and complain about how much we didn't like it. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure we'll have a good time. So check out Backlash coming up Saturday for WWE, and we will see you next time on the Mark Hoke Show. Stu, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you next week on the Mark Hoke Show here on KDAWN. And don't forget to download this podcast too at markhokeshow.podbean.com. They're out there. Every show is on that Podbean account. So check it out. We'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in on KDAWN. Have a great day, Las Vegas.
Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join The Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.